I'm Hal Donaldson, president of Convoy of Hope. We have all seen the seismic cultural shifts taking place in our nation and the world. Those changes have left many followers of Jesus feeling marginalized and perhaps even underestimated. According to a recent study by Barna, 65% of believers feel misunderstood, 60% feel persecuted, and 46% maintain that they've been silenced because of their faith. In response, some followers have become defensive and bitter. At times, they've been tempted to fight back and to yell back at the world. But Jesus taught a much better way, didn't he? In Matthew chapter 5, verse 43 and 44, in the New Living Translation, he said, "You have heard the law that says, love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say, love your enemies. Pray for those who persecute you." In 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 2, the Apostle Paul instructed believers to bless others rather than striking back. And in 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 9, believers are encouraged to repay evil with blessing. Jesus taught his followers to share the salvation message with love in our hearts. In other words, he wants us to lead with love and to let people know that they matter. During this unit of Christian discipleship, you've studied the commands of Jesus and the biblical characteristics of a disciple. Simply put, disciples of Christ manifest Christ-like characteristics, and most of all, love and compassion. This is a fact. Your neighbors are longing to be loved. More than 1/4 of all U.S. adults live alone. Psychiatrists tell us, they've declared that there is an epidemic of loneliness in America today because people more than ever feel isolated. In contrast, neighborhoods of pre-World War II era were places where people found friendship and community, and they relied on one another. In a recent Influence magazine article entitled "Neighboring for the Common Good," author Don Everett said this: "The time couldn't be more ripe for Christians to resist yielding to bitter antagonism and instead choose the ancient path of neighborly love Christian exiles before us faithfully walked. What if we too refused to blend in? We refused to strike back, and instead we became zealous to pursue the common good of our neighbors? What if the non-Christians around us began to see a wave of Christians who are humbly pursuing the welfare of their neighborhoods and their cities?" At Convoy of Hope, we've seen firsthand what happens when believers move beyond feeling marginalized and they resist the temptation to strike back. We've seen what happens when believers lead with the love and a compassion of Jesus. It delivers hope and it opens the door for friendship and understanding. As a faith-based relief organization, in partnership with local churches and Assemblies of God missions, we've served more than 160 million people across the United States and around the world. We're in the business of sharing the message of Jesus, but also offering tangible help through a variety of compassion ministries. Each year, in dozens of urban and rural communities, guests of honor receive free groceries, medical and dental care, free shoes, haircuts, job placement assistance, and much more. And when natural disasters occur, we race into those crises to provide food, water, and emergency supplies to the survivors. Now, internationally, we feed more than 300,000 children each day. We provide training to thousands of mothers, and we help them start their own businesses so they can feed their own kids. And we train farmers and families in agriculture so they can increase their yields, the yields of their crops, and feed their families and feed their communities. We've seen what Jesus does in the hearts of people when we move beyond cultural offenses and we shift our focus to demonstrating that we care. Hope is a currency. It's a currency that God intended for us to spend. It's not something that we're intended to hoard. That currency can come in the form of food. It can be a handshake. It can be a smile. It can be holding someone who's lost a loved one. The more you give away, the more hope you're going to have. A recent survey found that only 27% of non-Christians believe that people of faith provide the majority of good works in our country. Think about that. This same survey by Barna asked non-Christians Who could best solve community problems? And they chose community members. In other words, people trust those who are close to them. If believers are going to show love to others, we would do well to start in our own neighborhoods. The Apostle Peter in 1 Peter 2:12 said, "Live such good lives among the pagans that, though they accuse you of doing wrong, they may see your good deeds and glorify God." Some see the current culture as perilous. They tell themselves it's already too far gone. But we can live with a high degree of optimism, friend, because Jesus is still at work. He's just looking for people like you and me that we can work through to deliver hope to a desperate world. God bless you.